Hi folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I am going to be taking a prototype concept from a design all the way through to printing on my 3D printer. And I'm specifically going to be doing this for my Bixpy Jet. So I've had, unfortunately, the bracket break off, and I made myself a replacement bracket, which is great. This goes on my paddleboard, absolutely fine. What I want to do though is I want to put my Bixpy Jet on a kayak, an inflatable kayak that I have, that is one that I purchased from Decathlon, and they come with these removable fins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to model this in some 3D design software. I'm specifically going to be using a app on my iPad, which is called Shaper 3D. And once I've done that, I will take this and put this into another program which I have on my MacBook, which is called Simplify 3D. That will generate the files I need to go off and print this on my 3D printer. So I'm going to take you through the whole process of designing this, and I'll be using a caliper set to do this. This is a digital caliper, which is going to allow me to take the measurements that I need, and this is going to help me make this into a bracket that I can use for that kayak, and then I'll have a motorized kayak. So let's jump into the Shaper software. So what I've done there is I've generated a really simple, rough outlay of what I'm trying to achieve. So now I'm going to use something called Simplify 3D, which is a slicer program which will allow me to generate supports if needed for my model or shape. So I'm simply going to import the required file, and I should have one of those in my download. And as we can see, I can see in the UI here is my rough shape of my bracket that I'm going to have. Now specifically in here we can see the shape of model as I move around. I have this point here where a key will go in to keep this item latched in. So just as we can see on this model, has a latch-in key which we'll be able to replicate. And then on the previous mount there is some wiring. So in this case, when we're looking at the diagram, the wiring comes here. So I've placed a little gap in here. I've rounded the edges just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then what we'll do now is we'll go and generate a G-code file which the 3D printer will use. So I'm going to choose to print this in PLA. Now if this was a permanent part that I was using outside, I wouldn't use PLA, but this is going to be in the water for maybe an hour at a time, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to choose PLA. I'm then going to click prepare to print and go through. This will show me my slicer layout, and what I can then do is I can look at the individual layers for how this will get printed. So in this case I can slide along. I can see I've got the base plate, and it does the next stage, and we can see the full shape taking place. So that's how it's going to print. This is going to take 2 hours and 2 minutes to print on my 3D printer. It's going to use 42 grams of PLA material, and the rest of it's kind of generic. So what I then do, we'll choose to save this to a toolpath, and that will generate that onto a SD card, which I'll take over to my printer, and I'll show you that setup shortly. Okay, so now that I have the G-code file created, we're going to plug it into the 3D printer. I'm using the Anycubic Mega Pro. This comes with a laser engraver as well. It can print in ABS and PLA, etc. Brilliant machine, really well worth it. Before I get going, what I like to do is I take a bit of acetone, and I will pour this over the print bed just to make sure it's got a clean print bed to print from. Simply just pouring a dab onto the print bed. I then take a piece of kitchen towel and then rub that over the base. Sometimes, depending on what I'm printing or printing with, I will also spray down some hairspray, which will help the PLA print or the ABS print adhere to the surface. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it on, and I have our G-code file, which is on this little SD card. I'm going to insert this into the side. And what I'm then going to do is I'm going to select from the menu the item. So I named this something. Let's find it. I called it iTwit. So I'm going to choose that, iTwit.gcode, and I'm going to select print. And what it's doing now is it's heating up this bed. When this gets to 60 degrees centigrade, it will then start heating the filament, which is the PLA which I've got on this reel, and we'll see the item start to appear and print over here. So we'll keep an eye on it. So very quickly there, we printed the item. Here is the finished item. There's actually a support structure that went underneath here, and what we can do is just taking a pen or whatever implement we have, we can actually just pop that out, and that will come out there. Oh, and you see that popped. And we have the nice little hole going through. This was just a really rough prototype. I didn't really finish the measurements or design of it, but what we can see is this will now fit within the bottom of the kayak, and we can see here that it's going to go that way, that slots into there, enough room for the cable to come through, and we can see there that there is enough room for us to drill the holes. For me, this is perfect, and hopefully you saw how quickly you can take something from a concept in your mind through to some software and printing it straight out on the 3D printer. If you've enjoyed my content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see my next videos. I'll see you on the next one.